Welcome to our Israel-Palestine podcast, a project by graduating high school students from Berlin-Neukölln, home to Germany's largest Palestinian diaspora, and a second home to many young Israelis. Israel and Palestine are painfully present in our district and in our schools. We've spoken with historians, legal scholars, trauma researchers, and educators, some of whom are world-leading experts to better understand this ongoing conflict. Our approach has been multi-perspectival. We don't aim to resolve controversies or contradictions, but to hear different perspectives. Human rights and international law are the foundation of responsible multi-perspectivism. Can we learn to listen and hold conflicting truths at the same time? Find your own answers, or better, questions. Are you ready for the discomfort of learning?
Welcome to this final episode of our Israel-Palestine podcast. I'm Alexandria.
I'm Mert. And I'm Efe.
We have started this journey with the human reality meeting people whose lives were deeply affected by the violence of this conflict. This is where our journey ends today as well. We are deeply honored and grateful that Mai and Sima are here with us today, two young ambassadors for peace for the Parent Circle Families Forum, an organization of over 800 bereaved Israelis and Palestinian families who have each lost a close family member to the conflict. They are moral leaders. Their stories are powerful testimony to life, to shared pain and shared grief that are leading the way back to our shared humanity. These families, despite unimaginable pain, have chosen reconciliation instead of revenge. The Parent Circles create spaces for dialogue, mutual recognition, and peace building. The Young Ambassadors program brings this message to schools and communities in Israel, Palestine, and around the world. In this episode, we ask, what does it mean to lose a loved one to violence and still choose peace? What does courage sound like in the face of loss? And what can we all learn from the people who carry both grief and hope? Dear Sima, dear Mai, a very, very warm welcome. We are so deeply grateful and honored to have you with us.
Thank you very much for taking this time.
Thank you. Thank you also, guys, for doing that and being with us. And listen from your heart. This is some lessons we learned, me and Mai. Thank you so much.
Mai and Sima, before we go anywhere with this conversation, we'd like to get to know you a little bit more. Would you mind introducing yourselves? Where are you from? How old are you? What do you do? And what made you to become a young ambassador for peace?
Go ahead, Sima.
All right. Okay. My name is Sima, as you know. I'm 20 years old. I'm from the West Bank, from Hebron. I live in Beit Umar. It's a small village north of Hebron. I'm a student. I learn English, and I'm looking for scholarship in Berlin. I hope it's gonna be good. My story began when my mother was 14 years old. She married when she was 14 years old, and she had her first baby when she was 19. So she suffered 5 years to get her first baby. He was my older brother, Mahmoud. And after 17 years old, when he was 17 years old, we lost him by Israeli sniper. And I was 3 years old. I couldn't understand what is going on and who killed him and why killed him. But all I understood is that I lost my connection with my mother, and I lost a connection with my family. And my mother forgot how to be a mother for her children. And she was always crying over him, and you know that feeling. And one day, her friend invited her to a group of women, and she said yes to share their pain about the situation. And when she went there, she saw an Israeli woman for the first time. She was Robi. I don't know if you know her. She's the one of the parent circle. My mother was so angry because she didn't know that there's an Israeli woman, and she said, Israel killed my son. I would never talk to anyone or talk to any Israeli or Jewish people. And Robi stopped her and told her that she's also a mother who lost her son. In that moment, my mother realized that there is no Israeli and Palestinian in pain. They are mothers and they are sharing the same pain. And they decided to stop the situation and not losing another people who we love and who we care about. And when I was 14 years old, my mother told me that there is a summer camp in the parent circle. That was my first time meeting an Israeli side. But all I thought about is I want to go to this summer camp just to blame the Israeli children and the Israeli side about how I lived, and I want to blame them why I lost my connection with my mother and about my childhood. But when I met them for the first time, I realized that they are children just like me, and they don't think about killing or bombing or all these sad things to think about as a child. And this is my first time joining the parent circle. Now I'm a yapper in the parent circle. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sima.
Thank you, of course.
So my name is Mai. I'm 30 years old, originally from a small town next to Tel Aviv. Now I live in Jerusalem. I study education, and I joined because of my grandfather. He lived in a small kibbutz. It's like a village right next to Gaza. And he was one of the people who were kidnapped by Hamas on October 7th. He was in captivity for about 4 months, and then he was killed. And my story is a bit different because I didn't have this feeling of like, because I had a pretty good life overall. I didn't have any hatred or resentment toward Palestinians, and I grew up in a very leftist environment. Like my grandfather himself was a very big peace activist, and he volunteered in organizations like taking sick children from Gaza to Israeli hospitals. And this concept of occupation and apartheid and having peace with the Palestinians, it's something it was a very big part of my life for most of my life. So that didn't change. it even got stronger. Many people in Israel after October 7th are saying, okay, I thought we can have peace, but now I can understand that there is no way to have peace with them. To me, it's the other way around. I'm like, okay, now I know that we must have peace. Now I know that nothing is going to change as long as we keep with the occupation, with the apartheid, with controlling the borders of Gaza. And after my grandfather died, and I wanted to join the forum and the young ambassadors to keep telling his story and keep his way of living, like to keep him alive.
Looking back now, after some time, was there a moment when something shifted for you? Maybe a conversation, something someone said, or even a feeling that helped you begin to think differently about what had happened?
I think for me, as I said, like, because I grew up like this and I wasn't like very resentful or hateful towards any Arabs or Palestinians in general, then there wasn't anything, I think, that really changed this opinion for me. But when I moved to Jerusalem about 4 years ago, this was the first time in my life where I actually met Palestinians and got to hear their stories from their point of view. Like I knew most of it, but like from news and from organizations that talk about Israeli organizations talk about the occupation. But suddenly they were actually my friends, like in college and work. Actually got to meet Palestinian people, and I feel like when I moved to Jerusalem, I thought to myself, okay, this is my opportunity to see like who is right in this conflict, in the sense of like, not in the conflict of the Israel-Palestinian, but the Israeli left and the Israeli right. And I'm saying like, okay, I grew up with this sense of like, we are all people, we can all live together, we can have peace. But I was in a very homogeneous environment, like a lot of people like me, a very small town. And then I got to Jerusalem. I was exposed to all different kind of people, Palestinians, Muslims, and Christians, and different kinds of Israelis that I didn't get to know very well during my life. And this was like the proof for me. It's like if I can sit down and have a cup of coffee and a nice conversation with someone like very honorably call my friend, and he's a Palestinian and he's a Muslim. I'm like, everybody's just crazy. Everybody is crazy. If we can just sit down and have like a cup of coffee or a bowl of hummus or something, then there is no reason to not have peace between both our people.
I don't really remember specific thing that shift my mind. But I remember the first time that I shared my story. It wasn't in this specific details, and I just only said that I lost my brother and how I lost him, and then I started to cry. That's all. And when I saw that the Israeli and the Palestinian are crying over what I said, that make me feel, and that keeps it in my heart, in my mind, and that's the only thing that I remember when I. And also, when we were cooked together in the summer camp, not in the summer camp, we were laughing And I realized that we are people. We don't have to. Yeah, that's it.
Can you tell us more about Mahmoud, Sima, and your grandfather, Mai?
Yeah. So my grandfather, he was actually born in Israel before it was Israel in 1944, and he grew up. He went to, as all Israelis, it's mandatory to go to the army at the age of 18. But he went with a group to build this kibbutz. They were like agricultural villages right next to Gaza. And so he lived there since he was like 18 until he was kidnapped on October 7th. And during his life, he was like a very political person. Like he always stood up against the things that were happening, but like he could say that because he was part of it. Like as a young man, he was a part of the war in 1968 and 1973 and the Lebanon war at the beginning of the 80s, and like he didn't want to be there, but he had this sense of like he has to protect his loved ones. And that, I think, it was common for many people his age because of the Holocaust. Like his own parents are Holocaust survivors. So he wanted to have peace with everyone around, but like when there was war, no matter who started, even if sometimes Israel started it, it's like, I have to go. I don't want this war, but I have to go protect my grandmother, my parents, my uncles, and my aunts. But he would always criticize. There's I found an interview from the news from 1982 or 3. He just got out of Lebanon saying like, I've seen like what's going on in Lebanon and it should be over immediately. We should stop it now. And after his days in the army was past, he really began focusing more on building peace. And as I said, he was part of this organization that would help sick children from Gaza to get into Israeli hospitals. And he was an artist, and he really loved. He made movies. He was a cinematographer. He was teaching cinema at a college and high school. And he had an art gallery where he would host exhibitions of people from all over Israel, including Bedouin and Palestinians. And he would help them create their exhibitions and show their art without any criticism and without any censorship. He would let the Palestinian and the Bedouin people tell their story through their art in his gallery. And I think this is like something that's very very special about him. It's like he loved art and loved painting and making sculpture. He was a sculptor. And this way, like all people from all over Israel came to this gallery to see what's going on. And sometimes they didn't know. They're like, it's a very popular area for having vacations, like in Israel, and doing like to travel there. So sometimes people are there, they don't know what's there. They say, oh, there's an art gallery. Let's go see it. I wonder what's in there. And suddenly exhibitions of Palestinians and Bedouins. And I think that's a very nice way to promote this kind of connection and partnership between Israelis and Palestinians, and that's he used to go to protests a lot, like even at his old age. In Israel, we have a big demonstration in Tel Aviv and in Israel, in Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem, and in all over the countries, like Saturday night for like maybe 5-6 years. I don't know. He used to go every night, even though he lived like 2 hours away. He used to come to Tel Aviv and to Jerusalem and to protest for peace and against the occupation and against the government, things like that. And really, like, to me, is a very big source of inspiration. And as I joined the forum to keep his spirit alive.
Thank you so much.
Your grandfather sounds like he was a very nice person.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mai. Mahmoud, as I said, he's the first child of my mother. She was 19, and he was the light for her life, and he was making her laugh. He was making all of us laugh. And when my mother gave a birth to me, my siblings, none of them was happy because they don't want more siblings. He's the only one. He's the only one that was loving me very deeply, and he was very careful to not make anyone hurt me and make me cry. Maybe I can feel this, but I didn't see it. My mother told me everything about how he was loving me and taking care of me, and he was taking me all around the places he was going to. And I have so much pictures with him in Eid. I don't know if you know Eid. And when he was with his friends, and he was telling my mother that one day I will be the person that you want to, and I hope I am the person that you want. And actually, I am working for my life and doing anything that make me the good person just because of him and to make him proud of me. That's fine. Thank you.
So much.
He sounds like a very loving brother.
Yeah, yes.
I'm sure both
That's
your
right.
grandfather and your brother are both very proud of you both.
Thank you.
Thanks, yeah.
How did you two get to know each other?
We met in the app and we had
A good conversation for the first time. Do you remember that?
in Bajara.
Yes, in Betel.
Yeah, we had that first. And then we had the event in Berlin where we also spoke. So I think I heard your story like the most because we had this conversation in Bajara and then we had the event in Berlin and now this. But every time you tell your story, it actually brings to my eyes.
Thank you. Me too. Every time you said your own story, it's really touching my heart. Thank you so much for being strong every time.
Thank you. Yeah, next question.
Yalla.
Tell us more about the Young Ambassadors for Peace. What is your mission and what was your first workshop or training camp with them like?
Yeah, I think like it's a group of basically it's a group of Israelis and Palestinians supposed to meet together and like have workshops together and luckily for us we got to fly together also to Berlin and to Prague, which was really nice. And there were like seminars, for like leadership building and peace building, and we learned more about each other's history and each other's narratives. Where does everybody come from? Why the Jews and the Israeli out there, what they're doing there, why we're doing what we're doing. And I think I realized many Palestinians and many pro-Palestinians all over the world don't know it. And I realized that so many of Israelis and Jews don't know about the history of the Palestinian people and not even the history, like what's happening in Gaza and in the West Bank, which was something that I think was very, very important for us to learn. I think the thing about specifically the Israeli group of the YAP is that the people from Israel who participate in these kind of things are already very leftist, already very pro-peace, already know more or less what's going on, even if they haven't met a Palestinian in their life. So I think it's easier for us to join this kind of group. We are not, I say, unfortunately, we are not the majority in Israel. I think the people who actually should be part of groups like this are people who are not willing to be. But for me personally, it was very important to meet other Palestinians and share my own pain with them and to hear their pain and like showing all sides that like we're here, we are all victims in one way or another of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and we have the responsibility as Israelis and Palestinians because it's not going to be solved one-sided. And it's the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And the first thing they have to do is to create strong connections with Palestinians in order to solve together this conflict. And I think the IAP was a very good place to start.
This year, especially after the horrible attacks of October 7th and the devastation of Gaza, has been filled with trauma and pain on all sides. How have recent events affected your lives, your work, and the forum?
So October 7th, I think it's obvious for me how it affected my life. With my grandfather and everything. It is becoming harder to live here amongst people who like stop believing in peace because of October 7th. It's easier for them to categorize, like put all the Palestinians in as a one group and saying like, okay, if Hamas are Palestinians, then all Palestinians want to kill us and we can have peace with the Palestinians. And obviously it's not true, but people, it's so much easier to live like thinking that, to not have to go into all the tiny details and the intricacies and who are the people living in Gaza, who are the people living in the West Bank, who do they support, who do they condemn, because like even here in Israel, it's such a wide range of like from the far extremist left to the far extremist right, like from people on one side about saying, even in the left, like should we have a two-state solution? Should we have a one-state solution for all? And in the far right, you have the people who are like, we should flatten Gaza and build a new part of Israel in Gaza. So we know in Israel how wide this range can be, but still, for the Palestinians, no, they're all the same. And it's very hard living, I think, for me. And this is like something very big that October 7th, of course, that you have to listen to people losing hope, basically. But then being part of the forum and being in contact with other Israelis like me and other Palestinians, it does bring back a little bit of hope.
Thank you. Thank you, Mai. Also, we have the same thing as Palestinians and as yappers. Like for my personal, I finished my high school when the war has begun. So I lost 1 year of my life doing nothing because there was more checkpoints. There were more gates on every village and every city in the West Bank. So there's no freedom of movement in the West Bank. And because of that, I lost 1 year of doing nothing and not applying to any university because it was so hard. Plus, there was no work, no jobs. There's no freedom of movement, so you can imagine the thing that we had. And as Sima, I was having so much hope of what I'm doing, and I was hoping that there's something gonna be different in the future. But after 7th of October, I lost this hope, and I lost all my thoughts about the solution between us. But every time we had the meeting and the app and everything, they gave me the same hope again. And after we were in Berlin, I really thought that we are doing something because we are in Berlin, we are in Germany, and we are sharing our pain, we are sharing our stories, we are sharing our situation and together. And that makes my hope build again. And
There is a special event every year that the parent circle organizes, the joint Memorial Day ceremony. Can you tell us what is it about and when you have attended it the first time?
So the ceremony in Israel every year, there are 2 Memorial Days, 1 week apart from each other. There's the Holocaust Memorial Day, and the week after that there is the Memorial Day for for people who have died either as soldiers during the war or because of terror attacks. Basically, anyone who died because of the conflict, because of wars. And it's a very patriotic day, which we remember people that we might consider as heroes, or there's a very strong mentality of martyrs and remembering all those who died because of wars. And the Israeli-Palestinian ceremony basically wants to do the same thing, but to include Palestinians in the sense that we are all victims of these situations, and we cannot commemorate it on our own, and we have to include them because they're part of this as well. And because this Memorial Day is so important to so many people in Israel, some of them are really, really hurt because of this ceremony taking place. It's like they are enemies, and how can you have this day and this ceremony with our enemies, so-called, my this and my that died because of, I don't know, in the West Bank or in Gaza or in a war or a terror attack. So it's very hard having this ceremony. It's taking place in a secret location. Only the participants know about, but it's being broadcast live in many places in Israel. And specifically this year, one of the places that was broadcasting the ceremony was attacked by right-wing protesters. So it's a very difficult situation, but I think it's a necessity to have this kind of ceremony. Keep telling ourselves that if me as I am a victim of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict because of what happened to my grandfather and my uncle, he didn't even talk about, he also was murdered on October 7th. I lost them because of October 7th. And October 7th is a very big event, but it's part of the entire umbrella that's called the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And if I am a victim of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, I choose to remember my loved ones that I've lost with other people who are victims of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. That must include Palestinians as well. And I think this series was I've known about this ceremony for many years, but this year was my first time actually attending it. And it was amazing. And I think that having things like that is a very important thing that we have to do to move forward with achieving peace.
How do you support each other across national lines in a time when everything around you may be calling for separation or blame?
You can go.
How do we support each other? I think it's very hard because we are actually physically very separated. I'm doing what I can here. If it's protesting and raising awareness of whatever is happening in Gaza, especially in the past few weeks, like the hunger situation is off the charts. But specifically with the other YAP members, I think anytime something's happening, we have a group on WhatsApp together and we ask each other what's up. When we had the Iran thing a few weeks ago, I think you didn't even get to Palestine yet, right? You were still because you had this flight thing from Berlin. So when it started, you weren't even in Palestine yet. The rockets from Iran.
Yeah, we stuck in Jordan for about half a week, week and a half, I think, because of Iran. But it's dead. Yeah, we stuck there because we couldn't just cross the Jordan place and the Israeli and the Palestinian. Yeah.
Yeah. So when
it was so dangerous to cross them. So we stuck in Jordan for about a week and a half.
and even with all that, like when it started, we got messages from them like, "How are you doing? How are you safe? Do you have any place to be?" and things like that. And we were like, this little thing. It's like, it's not something that we can actually do for each other to help each other, but it's like just knowing that we think about each other. I hear stories from other people in the forum. It's like on October 7th, Palestinians contacted Israeli members and asked them if they're all right. And to me, it personally helps me knowing that we still care about each other, no matter what. Like after my grandfather was announced dead, like a year ago almost, the college sent like an email to all the students, like deep condolences to our student, we lost and like Palestinian friend from college, like he was one of the only people who sent me a message and like asking me how I'm doing, saying sorry for me. So I think in times that even if we can't physically help each other, I have no way as a personal human to just go into Gaza and bring them food. But just knowing that under any circumstances we still care about each other, like even that helps.
How do you deal with the political and ideological disagreement within the parent circle? And do you find that compassion can coexist with conflicting political conviction? And how do you make room for that?
Do you mean my thoughts around my family and friends, or in the parent circle?
In the parent circle.
Okay. I'm one of the people who actually respect every mind and every idea that I hear and I know for the first time. But actually, sometimes we got some arguments. I don't know if might remember about the situation and about the occupation and some words that maybe hurt us and hurt them. But I don't think we have a big problem with that. Like, I didn't realize that we have a big problem of connected and minded. And somehow, I don't know if Mai has another.
Yeah, I think I think we're not like very big part of the forum yet, like about conflicts within the forum. But of course, like we had this situation in Berlin. It made me realize that there are like some differences between us that we might not always agree upon everything. Like I came like very optimistic, like, oh, we're your best friends and we're making peace together. But we had like a situation, and the day after we had very long conversations as a group, and like I came to realize that we are actually very different. We might not agree on everything, but we do agree upon the important things, like ending the occupation, ending the apartheid, ending the war in Gaza, Palestinians having rights and freedom. How we do it and how we get there, that's something that even only on the Israeli side, it's like there are conflicts because there's this joke about like in one room there are two Jews and three different opinions. And so like, okay, we all agree that we should end the occupation, but like one state solution, two state solutions, something like it. Confederate. So I think I count on professional people that are like, actually, this is their job, to solve these kind of things. But as long as we all agree on what's the actual problem and that it needs to be solved, like there is occupation, there is no freedom for the Palestinians, we have to change that. And on a higher level, like government and the state, we're not there yet. And actually, we're in the worst place I think we've ever been with the current Israeli government. But as soon as we say, okay, now this is the time to solve the Israeli-Palestinian problem, I have my own opinions about how it should be done. I know that other Israelis that also want to solve the conflict and have peace with the Palestinians might have different opinions about how it should be done. I'm guessing different Palestinians have different opinions about how it should be done. But as long as we keep our eyes on the target, which is living side by side peacefully with the Palestinians in any way we can, in any arrangement that will eventually be, this is the most important thing, I think, for me, to have this peace, to know that my own grandchildren 60 years from now won't have to be afraid that their grandfather would be killed or abducted or something like that. So this is what I'm working towards. And yeah, as long as we all agree on the mission, like how we do it, we're going to figure it out somehow.
And what gives you hope right now?
Very hard question.
Yes, a very hard question. Can I?
Please.
I think the most thing that give me hope these days that we are doing, we are making, we are telling, our voice is raising. We are keep going. We can do and hand by hand. And all of the arguments that we said about, and we, as Mai said, it's not that important to keep going and have the hope. Because if we lost the hope, and I think it's the most important thing to live with, the hope. If we lost it, we lost how we have to live peacefully and freedomly. And yeah, that we are doing things and we are making, we are speaking, and our speech, the app, the parent circle, all of that give me more hope day by day.
Yeah, I just saw one of the Star Wars movies again, and they said the rebellion is built on hope. So if you lose hope, everything falls down. And no, I see yesterday there was a big protest in Tel Aviv of many Israelis and Palestinians together against the famine in Gaza. And it gives me hope to see that, okay, people still care about my own people, not just people. It's good that people all over the world care about it, but I want to see my own people, my neighbors, my friends, talking about, I'm not willing to have my own country inflict this pain upon other people. And as long as I see that, then there is still hope.
Yeah, of course.
If you could speak to young people who are watching this conflict and who are quick to pick sides, what do you wish them to understand?
They're picking the wrong sides. Either whether they're pro-Israelis or pro-Palestinians, to me, they're picking the wrong side. Because if you're pro-Israeli, then you're siding with me, but probably not with Sima. And if you're pro-Palestinian, then maybe you're not siding with me. And I think many of the people with the good intentions, very good, whether they're pro-Israeli or pro-Palestinians, those movements sometimes are being used either by anti-Semites or by Islamophobes, and they're taking advantage of the situation. And I think I said it also when we had the event in Berlin, that like, we are on the same side. Like, I'm Israeli, Sima is Palestinian, and we are on the same side. So if you want to be on our side, you can either just be pro-Israeli or just pro-Palestinian. You want to be on our side, you have to be pro-peace, pro-solution, pro-ending the conflict. And those things would benefit both me and Sima, both the Israelis and the Palestinians. So those who are quick to pick sides see that there are other sides. There's not just Israel versus Palestine. There is peace and compassion and solution versus extremism, versus war, versus death and killing. And so there is one side, in my opinion, that you have to choose. And I think it's really obvious.
Do you want to add something, Sima?
Yes. I don't think if there's someone who pro-Israel or pro-Palestine that's with killing the other side. Like, I don't think the people who is pro-Palestine is with the war and with killing Israeli side, and with people these days are more like to live with peace, and they like the life. And I don't think there's someone who, like, I met some people who pro-Palestine, but they are saying that we can have peace and we can have the solution between the two sides. So it doesn't make any reflect of being pro-Palestine and being pro-Israel.
I completely agree with you, but the point is that I think those terms are being used by, like, they can be used by, some people. Of course, there are many pro-Palestinians and pro-Israelis that are like, we need to have peace and we can solve, and we have to solve this conflict. But there are people, and because I'm very exposed to it as a Jew, like all the anti-Semitism around the world, where people are like, what do you mean when you say free Palestine or from the river to the sea? And it's like, all Jews should just get out of there, like go back to Europe, even though like more than half of the Jews are not even European. And again, pro-Israel, some of them, they say we have to end the war and we need to make peace. But some of them are like, because of October 7th, everything that Israel is doing is right and is good, and all the Gazans deserve it. So, of course, there are many people on both sides that would be either this or that. But when I hear someone who is like pro-Israeli, feel just this title is like somehow excluding like Palestinians, like, because it's either pro-Israel or pro-Palestine, and like I want to be both. I'm pro-Israel and Palestine. So I wish the terms would change. Like, because there could be people who want peace on every side. Someone can say, I'm a pro-Palestinian and I think there should be peace with Israel, but then there are people who are saying Israel doesn't have a right to exist. And then there are people on my side who are saying like, Palestine is not a country and it never was, and it's just an imaginary state, and they should go back to, I don't know, like, it's funny, like we all experience the same thing. Like we hearing like, the Jews should go back to wherever, and then, and then Israel is saying the Palestinians should go back to wherever they came from. So the thing is, when I see someone who is pro something, I want to feel like both sides are included. Like I just want to hear more people saying like, I'm pro peace between Israel and Palestine. And even though a pro-Palestinian can be pro-peace and a pro-Israeli can be pro-peace, and I think saying that out loud, saying I am pro-Israel and Palestine together, and I'm against the war, and I'm against people being banished from their homes, whether they live in Israel or in Gaza or in the West Bank. And that's like the most important thing to me.
What kind of stories about the conflict do you wish you had heard in your own school years?
I think just hearing about the other side, because when I was teenage, I only have an idea about Israeli. Is they are an enemy, and I couldn't imagine that there are some stories and there's same pain and there's people, because in my community they didn't tell me that there are humans just like me, and there are some people who lost their lovers and people in their lives. And
Yeah, I agree. I think that in Israel also we barely know anything about the history of the Palestinian people. We know nothing about the Nakba. I think people should, like in Israeli schools, learn about the Nakba, because they say history is written by the winners, and all of the Israeli history school books are like from our point of view, like what happened to us, and like in a very diminishing way. It's just like, we were here and then we were banished by the Babylonians and by the Romans 2,000 years ago. Then skip at 2,000 years the Holocaust, and then we had to go back. We just wanted to live in peace, but they attacked us. We agreed to the partition plan. We wanted to have 2 states, but they didn't. But it's so much more complicated than that. And people don't realize it. And I think the people who are in charge of like what students learn on both sides are doing a very good job of dehumanizing the other side and not telling enough about the other side. If Palestinians not having to agree with everything, obviously not agreeing with everything, but like just knowing like what happened to the Jews during the 2,000 years of diaspora and why we came back to Israel. And of course, it doesn't justify everything that's been going on, but knowing our history, like I'm hearing since I got to be friends with Palestinians that they don't know about Jewish history and Jews as an ethnicity, not a religion. Because I'm not a religion person, but I'm still very much Jewish in my ethnicity. And when I learn more about Palestinian history and Palestinian narrative, there's nobody in Israel barely knows about it, anything. They don't want us to know about it because then we can be enemies. If I can tell Sima, like, I'm here because of this and that, and I'm very sorry that we've inflicted those things upon you. And I can hear from Palestinians, we are here on this land because of this and that, and we are sorry for the pain that's been inflicted upon you. That's a very important thing we need to do to start moving towards the solution. But war is very good for politicians and for leaders, and keeping us separated, dehumanizing each other. So we keep dying, they keep getting richer and stronger, and we won't let them.
What last message would you like to leave for those listening, especially those who won't know what to say or do in face of this pain?
I would say that the things that I'm always saying, that it's not about Palestine and Israel. It's about the people that are in Israel and Palestine. It's not about the land. It's about the lives. And it's also not about the political and the governments and the people that's leading us. It's about our lives, our dreams, our lovers. We want to live. How cost is that? How much cost is that? We want to live our dreams. And if you want to keep going, just keep going for us, for being okay and being freedom and being alive, living our dream and living our dream. And that's it.
Of course, I agree with everything that Sima said. And I have one message to my cat. In this magical place people like to call from the river to the sea, there are about the same number of Jews and Palestinians. I think almost 7.5 million Jews and 7.5 million Palestinians. Both people call it their home. Both of them want to live here and are not willing to go or to move anywhere. And that's the first thing you have to accept. Either you're pro-Israel or pro-Palestinians. The Palestinians are not going anywhere, and the Jews are not going anywhere. And that's it. We can either keep killing each other forever, or we can start living here in peace. Advocate for peace and not for war. Advocate for people staying in their home, not being banished or removed from their homes. And yeah, accept that we all deserve to be here. We all deserve basic human rights. Whether you like it or not, we're here to stay.
Those were beautiful words. Thank you both so very much. We are deeply touched.
Thank you for the interview. It was amazing.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much for taking this time.
And thank you for being here. Thank you for listening for us.
Thank you for you being here.
Nice.
Thank you for listening. If this conversation was meaningful or unsettling, if it left you with answers or more questions, feel free to like, share and subscribe. See you next time on our Israel Palestine podcast.